Hey there, listeners, and welcome to season 2 of Project Zero. Goals the same as last year. We're still going to interview a bunch of amazing project leaders. But this time, though, we're going to focus a little bit more on AI and how it's impacting the industry, right? And what podcast would we be if we didn't have a little bit of conversation around AI? I am Alex Tuck, and I am the host. And I'm here today with project manager and PMP coach, Orlando Sequera. Welcome to the podcast, Orlando.
Thank you so much, Alex, for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like we did the pre-show and I'm really excited to hear about your Project Zero. Thanks for being on. So to start us off, Orlando, how'd you get into what you're doing right now? And how do you help folks with project management?
So mainly it was by accident and learning the hard way, I would say. Had the chance to work on a few initiatives. And after learning through many mistakes and failures, realized, oh, there's got to be a better way of doing things. There's something that I'm missing here. It's great to be involved in project related activities, but we're missing something. There's got to be something more that I'm not considering. And that's when I got exposed. I had that aha moment. Oh, there's a whole discipline behind project management. I didn't know it was both an art and a science, and it was a whole discipline. And that was a great eye opener to me after a few years in the IT field. I started as an IT support technician. And in a previous life, I would say, and fast forward 20 years later, I've had the pleasure to work as a project manager. We started as a coordinator first and then transition into project management roles in different industries, going from healthcare, research and development, IT infrastructure, and software development, even in the cruise industry, and lately for the last 8 years in the federal government arena. So I also discovered that I had to get back to the profession. I became a PMP instructor first, and lately a coach. So I enjoy project management. It's my passion. It's my profession, but also my passion and my hobby at the same time.
I love that. And I love that you've really made the distinction between sort of like a trainer and a coach. And talk to us a little bit about the difference between those two things so that people can get an idea of what they would get if they worked with you.
Yes, absolutely. So, being a trainer, we do have content to cover. We have some guardrails that are very strict. PMI is very strict, as you are very familiar with the way they work. We are required to cover for the PMP 35 hours of content, and it's very systematic. It's important. It's a compilation of best practices that covers different areas of project management. But for the exam, that's not enough. I always try to use an analogy in my classes to pretty much give all my students a way to visualize the context of any PMP preparation training. We teach at the lower levels of the Bloom's taxonomy models. We teach at the basic foundational level so they can build their understanding of the different tools and techniques that they can use for project management purposes and also, of course, for the exam. But there's a gap. There's a gap between what the exam is expecting and that knowledge. And that's what I've been working on addressing with coaching, because that's where you get the the full freedom of, okay, this is what you need to work on. It's not just knowing the tools and techniques. The exam is not about memorization. You have to build, you have to develop a mindset to be able to approach those scenario questions. The PMP exam has been evolving and it's actually about to go through a big change from July 9th.
Yep.
It's getting more situational and it's incorporating topics like AI. So it's getting really state of the art. So you have to really work in understanding what is PMI expecting from you? What is the mindset that you need to have as a project manager? Being able to regurgitate concepts and techniques is not enough. Memorization, that those lower levels of the Blues taxonomy models, that's not enough to be successful with the exam. It takes more. So that's what I get the chance to address with coaching, to be able to connect, to help them to use and apply critical thinking so they can tackle scenarios. And it's a win-win because it helps not only for the exam, but also for project management in general.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I got my PMP on the 5th edition, and man, I'm a great memorizer, Orlando. And so I got 40% of the exam exactly right because I could just memorize the stuff and complete it. And then those situational questions were harder. I thought I failed it, Orlando. I honestly I thought I was done, but I understood the content, right? And I love that, PMI is going towards the value that you're creating at a company versus just executing with the iron triangle of project management. It's really exciting to see that change. I really think they're modernizing for sure.
No, absolutely. And keeping up with the current trends, with the landscape of project management in general,
Yeah.
and being able to put all of that into practice, that's the right approach. It is beneficial. I think they are they're doing an excellent job in making sure that the exam really puts to a test how capable can you be with all those tools and techniques. And it's not just memorization, it's the mindset. That's what makes a difference. But I always tell my students the mindset by itself is not enough. It's some sort of a GPS, right? That will
Okay.
help you to navigate, but it's not enough on its own. If you don't know how to get there, what it needs to get to your final destination, in this case, is adding value to your stakeholders, you're going to be in trouble. So we
Yeah.
need to know what are the tools that we have available, the different options, and then be able to apply that critical thinking.
That's right. No, and I love that you offer this coaching, right? As opposed to just the training, because I think about some of my earlier projects. Man, I had the best Gantt charts. I had everything resource loaded. Everything was beautiful, right? And then when I went to the developers and I was like, hey guys, where are we at with this? They're like, I don't have time to update this. So the skill of being able to negotiate with those folks, help them like remove blockers, knowing when to escalate, all those things, like that's what you need coaching on. And so
Correct.
I love that you offer that, Orlando. It's a completely different ballgame.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, you said you had a career number one, right? And then you started to go into project coordination and project management. What was that like to transition from, being more in IT to moving to project management?
Yes, absolutely. So going back, it was a while back, many months ago in a previous life.
Yeah.
I happened to be an IT support technician.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thankful to all those calls that I got. I learned about different people. I was being trained in project management without knowing it. The help
Uh-huh.
desk is a great way to start. So I always recommend people, you don't start a career, like try to start with the help desk. You're going to be interacting with a lot of people. Those are going to be your future stakeholders, different personalities, different styles, different expectations. I didn't know that I was being trained already in project management. Actually, I didn't know that there was a whole discipline that was called project management. So I learned a lot of technical things. I was able to get into networking and some basic system administration. And one thing led to another, and I got my big opportunity. That day finally came. Okay, you've been showing that you're willing to learn, and they assigned me my first project. It was an
Mhm.
IT asset inventory project. I was the lead. I was so excited, so happy when just by hearing that word. Yes, you're the project lead. I had no clue what that was, but okay, I'm going to do my best. So it involves some coordination with other teams
Mhm.
and some engineers, some people from the networking team, some people in infrastructure. And we even had a couple of people from the procurement department and finance and accounting.
Right.
But I didn't know that there were so many moving parts. I always felt that I was 4, 5, 6 steps behind.
Mhm.
I felt that it was impossible to me to keep up. I was always trying. I was always I wasn't playing offense. I was playing defense.
Yep.
I was reacting, and the work kept piling up, and the milestones that we had to hit were We met a few, but we were always behind in the deliveries, and I couldn't understand what was going on. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I own my failures. The project was total and utter disaster.
Yeah,
It was
sure.
a, it was a humbling experience, I have to say. I guess to taste success, you have to taste defeat first. It was a humbling experience. I remember having a retrospective of the project with one of my mentors at the time. Well, you also got to learn from your mistakes. This is a learning experience to all of us, but
Yep.
especially for you. You were the lead. And that really resonated. I use that as motivation and encouragement to figure out there's going to be a better way of doing this. This is not, it can't be just good old common sense. I was simply applying common sense. This is what I have to do. This is what I should be doing, reaching out to the stakeholders and making sure that these areas of the project were being done. But I didn't know that I was neglecting other areas of the project by doing that, by focusing only on stakeholder management, for example, while
Sure.
my team members felt that they never got the information that they needed to move forward. And there were some tools and there were some technical aspects that I wasn't considering. Scope I never had a solid understanding of the scope. That's when I learned the hard way that scope is the most important aspect of any project. So it is true to this day, and it will always be the case. But I learned that the hard way. So that's when I decided, okay, I got to do more research. And I did a little bit different. I decided, okay, I need to work on formal education project management. I didn't even know that even colleges and universities had formal programs in place that you could attend to and learn about project management. So I started, okay, let me go back and get a little bit more education in project management. I need to do that. So it was an eye opener. I was able to find a really good program. I met awesome experienced project managers in that program. I was able to attend the master's program at Boston University and had the chance to be exposed to even more tools and techniques and the evolution of project management and different perspectives. And accounting was really tough. That was probably the toughest course that I ever taken in my life. I was never a numbers guy, so it was another humbling experience. And then I decided, okay, great. I was able to complete the program, graduated, awesome, but it wasn't enough. There was the big elephant in the room, which is the PMP. That was
Mhm.
mentioned in the program. A lot of people had it, and it is the gold standard for project management.
Mhm.
And that was another endeavor that I worked on right after I finished my master's. It is the single most difficult exam that I ever taken in my life.
Same.
It was another humbling experience. And after a tough accounting exam that was 3 hours, that was tough. I don't have a solid accounting background, but the PMP was totally different. It was way much more difficult. I had to study a lot. I took a class. I took a class back then,
Yeah.
and with a really good instructor that taught me the principles. Back then, I did it pretty much. Was it the fourth edition when I took it?
Yeah.
I think fourth or fifth edition around that time frame. And that was a humbling experience, but I learned so much about it, and it was so hard that wow, this is something that I want to keep working on. This is something that taught me a lot about myself, taught me about my my limits and how to push my limits. So
Sure.
I wanted to keep myself involved in that arena, and that's how the whole training initially started. I volunteer at my local chapter. I started with that, sharing with others as a volunteer, and then one thing led to another, and it became a second career for me. And also, I continue to work as a practitioner to this day. So that's in a nutshell my
That
project zero.
It's so cool. I love it. And I love that you mentioned that you had a mentor that let you fail, let you try, let you do the things, didn't yell at you, just said, "Hey, look, here are some things that you could have done better." I think those are the best mentors, right? They give you enough guidance, but then let you fail on your own. Cause, we all know like more you fail on your own, the quicker you personally learn. I like to learn from other people's failures too. Hopefully, the show helps folks achieve some of that. But that's great. But I mean, to the same token, though, like your mentors were more technical leaders, right? You
Yes,
didn't have that mentorship from a PM perspective. And back, you know, 10, 20 years ago, like you didn't have maybe 10 or 15 years ago is when you started to first see actual PMOs and like lots of PMs that you could be mentored by. But before that, like it was sort of the Wild West. It wasn't like a profession, like to your point, you had to like search for it. It wasn't just like everyone has a PM now. So a little different.
correct. It wasn't like that a few years back. It wasn't like that. PMOs were starting,
Yeah.
and many organizations didn't even understand the value of a PM. And
Yeah.
some still to this day, still questioning the value of a PM until they need it.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. There are all these things that you notice. It's, oh, we're not delivering on time, and we keep, ruining our relationship with our clients. And it's, oh, it's because your lead developer is also your PM. And it's not even that person would be bad at project management. It's just that they have a different role.
Correct.
And it's almost like someone just needs the role of project manager, that neutral party that is helping facilitate the
Exactly.
conversation.
And it is that invisible glue. That's how I personally call it. When people ask me, especially people that are new to project management, so how can you describe project management? I don't really understand it. What do you guys do? We are the invisible glue that keeps everything together.
Yeah.
So your project can be delivered on time within budget, but more importantly, achieving and delivering the value that was intended with the project. It's not just about the technical part. It's not just about being able to even properly communicate with stakeholders or being able to address the challenges. It's a balancing act, making sure that everyone, that things are being done when they need to be done, and that the information is flowing and the communication is happening. So that invisible glue that keeps everything together.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And you're starting to move to my next question, which is, you described what a PM or like what program man or project and program management do for an organization. What do you think the number one skill is for a PM? If you had to pick one, I know it's impossible, but
I would say leadership, because it involves the traits that you need to master. It involves communication. It involves motivation. It involves also guiding the team to get things done without using authority, which is going to be, in most cases, your situation as a project manager. In most cases, your team members are not going to be reporting to you. So you need to leverage that leadership, and ideally servant leadership in most cases, depending on the context of the project.
yeah.
So you can drive that team through execution, initially through planning and then through execution, to be able to deliver the value that was intended so the project could be successful. Leadership. And also, I'm forgetting to mention one important component of leadership, which is a crucial skill set: emotional intelligence. You're
Mhm.
going to be dealing with a lot of people. You have to work on your emotional intelligence skill set. It's crucial. It's crucial. You need to have empathy, in that you need to understand the impact of your emotions on other people, especially the negative ones. You're going to be facing challenges. And that's what I tell my students all the time. It's not always going to be blue skies, green
Yep.
pastures. You're going to face storms. The storms are going to come, whether you want it or not, whether you're ready for it or not. So you
Yep.
have to be able to navigate that. And that involves emotional intelligence, not letting your negative emotions dictate your actions, not letting that negative emotion that you might feel when you get an email at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday, and after having a challenging day. So
Mhm.
don't reply to that email right away.
Yeah.
So wait until you cool off a little bit, wait until walk it off first, and then reply to that email, so you don't
Mhm.
let your emotions take over. So that's what I would say
Yeah.
would be there.
I love that. And I use the term, like, even with our own organization, I call everyone project leaders, right? And not even project managers, because it is like leadership is completely different than management, right? Project management is done on the tasks, on the things, on the project itself. You're not managing those people, right? You're leading those people, to your point, with zero power, very little power. You can escalate, that's about it, right? But it's like negotiation, helping people, like creating heroes out of different team members. And I love what you called out, like the servant leadership piece, because I mean, honestly, like some of the best PMs that I know went and ran down the street and grabbed lunch or dinner for their teams, right? Like they did data entry. They came in like at 5 a.m. to make sure that a post go live went well. Like they're not doing anything hands on the keyboard, but they're there. And
Yes.
that's the sign of a good PM. That's what I look for, right? However you call
And that's crucial. You described in those three last sentences some of the few things that I used to do to motivate my team. I used to get them
it. Yep.
on Fridays
Yep.
breakfast.
Yeah.
So a box of donuts, but then I started to get some feedback. Hey, you should get something healthier because you're gonna make me go to the gym to to make up for the 4 donuts that I ate because of you. So
Love
that
it.
Krispy Kreme, there wasn't enough. So then I started bring some snack bars. We had pizza parties sometimes. And then if we hit a big milestone, sometimes if I could afford it, if I had the budget for it, great. But sometimes I did it out
Yeah.
of my own dime. And it was a pleasure to take them to lunch and celebrate as a team that we hit a major milestone. So you have to be a cheerleader, you have to be a servant leader, you have to be there with them. And for deployments going live, sometimes we had some go lives. I remember working in healthcare, and I'll bring that anecdote.
Oh
It
yeah.
was a hospital network that was owned by the Adventist church, and we were not allowed to do any work on Saturdays.
Oh
So we
wow.
had to do our deployments, work around that. And it was basically, we only had Sundays to do the deployments.
Mhm.
And sometimes Sunday, the entire day, and then we didn't have time to go back to go back home, and there's Monday, and we're still working on some finalizing some tasks. We spend the entire day and the entire night working on the deployment, and here we go, and just being there with them. I was the PM. I wasn't doing any of the tasks. Perhaps some initial testing, whatever I could do. But if
Sure.
I was going to ask them to be there to deploy and sacrifice their weekend, you have to be there with them. You have
Yeah.
to be a role model. So I wouldn't ask anybody something that I wouldn't do myself. If we were going to spend the entire weekend on a deployment, I was there. I will get them, I will feed them, I will do whatever it takes so they could do the work. And that's something that as a PM, you have to be willing to do. And it really promotes and brings to life that notion of a servant leader.
Yeah, I love that, and it creates this company culture too, right? Like, you have to be
Absolutely.
careful too, because like sometimes if you're willing to grind and do all these things, right, you're creating that culture as well. And something that I learned, I mean, I remember this my project zero. I worked 100-hour weeks for 4 straight years. Like maybe took 2 weeks off that entire time, and what kind of culture does that create? And at some point you have
Yeah.
to call it and say, all right, we need to move into operations. We need to like give these people their lives back a little bit too. So it's like that, it's hard to find that balance, but I love being there next to everyone when that was happening. Tell me a little bit, let's talk AI for a sec. Like, how are you seeing AI being used in project management right now? And where do you think it's going to go?
Hard to predict where it's going to go. It's happening so fast.
Yeah.
But something that it's important for anyone in project management is to learn how to use the models. We have to become well versed, not just asking basic questions to ChatGPT. That's what most people are doing. Oh, it's great using the chat box. That's great. But
Mhm.
there are so many different aspects of project management. And I'm going to focus on one in particular that I see great value of using the tool. First of all, it is a tool for us. It's not going, at least not in the immediate future, it's not going to replace project managers. But
Mhm.
again, it's hard to predict, right? What's going
Yep.
to happen in the next 2, 3, 4 years. But at
Yeah.
least for now, it is a tool for us that can help to streamline, to automate some of the repetitive tasks that we have to accomplish.
Mhm.
For example, one of the aspects that any PM could leverage is document creation,
Okay.
starting with the project charter itself. Also, basically any document. It can even help with requirements documentation. It can help with creating a risk register, a stakeholder register, and keeping it up to date. In many cases, we're going to be facilitating meetings. It's hard to find scribes. I remember that was one of the challenges that I had. Multitasking has never been my forte. My wife, she will listen to me right now. She will laugh because how come you cannot multitask? It depends on how you look at it. Because multitasking, in some instances, is not a good thing. Not in lean, that's considered a waste. So do one thing, do it right, then move on to the next one. But if you're facilitating a meeting, you have to take notes, action items. But with AI, you can get them, you can get tools that can do that for you. So you can focus on the important aspects of the meeting, which are basically learning from your stakeholders, gauging and understanding the questions that are coming your way, rather than being a simple scribe and making sure that the meeting minutes are properly documented. So there's so many instances in which that can help. So you can focus on the people aspect, building a relationship. I remember hearing many times from younger project managers, I don't have time to keep all my documents up to date and then build a relationship with my stakeholders, starting with the sponsor. I don't have time for that. I'm consumed with status reports. I'm consumed with risk registers. We have to keep them up to date. While that's important, that's an area that we can leverage an AI tool to automate those processes, of course. But there's something important. We
Yep.
have to remember that at the end of the day, it's not the tool signing those tax reports. It's your name as a PM. So we have to review the output to make sure that was the intended information for that audience. We're still the PMs. The tool is not the PM. So we have to remember that. And another area in which I see a major implementation that could be successful for many organizations is with change management. It is possible to streamline change management in leveraging the AI tool. So change requests in a predictive environment can be evaluated by the change control board and get a better flow of multiple change requests that might come at once to the change control board. That will help uh, projects in general if they're following that approach. So as a tool, it's here already. So we have to learn. All of your viewers, that's my advice. You need to become well versed in project management, of course, but also in AI tools that will help you to be a better project manager. You have to get on it. PMI offers a certification project management. There's multiple tools out there. So work on that. It's time to sharpen your skills. I'm going to do it myself. I haven't gotten the AI certification,
Yeah.
but I'm working on that. I'm going to be that. That's gonna be the next milestone that I'll be working on
That's
in the
awesome.
immediate future.
Yeah, I paid for the exam, Orlando, and I got the coursework. That was about 5 months ago, but the CPMAI, like I did I probably did the first 6 hours of it, and I would say I think I'm pretty, like, when it comes to, like, project management AI, I feel like I'm, in top 10%, and I was still learning stuff, right? I just thought it was, like, a really well put together, like, the orientation that they put around, okay, these are the different types of AI, and this is generative AI, and this is the difference between all those things. And just the way they define all the stuff is just so well done, especially for functional people, right? Like you're a technical person turned functional, but for people that, the business majors and the finance majors, like coming in and having it explained that way is really helpful. And so, yeah, anyway, yeah, you have to go do it. And I'm not going to run any AI projects, right? Like I'm running the company, not the projects, but I still think it's important for me to understand, what's my team going to learn, right? What are the certifications they're going to do and become fluent in it? Because if you don't, you're going to be left behind for sure. So
Correct.
one thing I wanted to say, Orlando, because you mentioned like the note taking and the action items. Oh my God. Like I tell everyone, I tell my whole team, use the note takers. They're amazing, right? Assume that it's going to fail, right? So make sure you track action items and some key decisions, right? But it allows for you to facilitate the conversation and make eye contact and dig and really pay attention instead of taking notes. And I had a client one time, Orlando, that they paid us like, I don't know, $1,000 to $2,000 a day just to take notes for them. It was a state client. And it's like unbelievable how much money was spent there, where like now an AI agent could do it for, like $20 a month. It's incredible. And it's so accurate, better than any human, right?
Yes, it's impressive.
Better than me for sure. Let's just put it that way. No, all right, Orlando. If you were going to give little Orlando, young Orlando, some advice, you're gonna have to go back a little bit, right? If you were gonna give yourself advice, forget about project management, but just like thinking about your career in general. Like, is there anything you would have done differently or recommended to yourself back then?
Probably no interesting question. I would have learned more about software development coding earlier.
Hmm.
That's something that I would have done differently, being more technical in that arena.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, I wouldn't change the experiences that I had coming from a different background and having been able to be exposed to different industries. That's something that I would have done the same way. In learning by doing, that is probably the best way, in my opinion, to learn something is learning by doing, and not being afraid of shortcomings and failure, which I still to this day, I view those as learning opportunities that will give you the chance to. Life has an interesting way of giving you a second chance, sometimes a third chance, sometimes a fourth chance, but don't overuse it, don't overdo it. So learn from it, right? Learn from it in many ways, just to, yeah, I would have gotten more technical earlier. That's
Yeah.
in the software development arena that was starting. I went the different path, and that's basically what I would have done differently.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always regret that too. Like I really wish I would have done a little bit of software engineering. I tell everyone I never got paid to write a single line of code, but you better believe I was in there trying to debug stuff with my teams all the time, right? And it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a background in that for sure. So I feel you on that, Orlando.
Absolutely.
All right, that was great. Great show. Tell me, Orlando, and tell the listeners, how can they get in contact with you if they want to learn more from you or maybe talk to you about coaching services?
So thank you. Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is not that common, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm under project management as a coach. Also, my website, I'm working on revamping my website, but it is www.mydynamicpm.com. That's my website. And you can also reach out to me via email. My email address is orlando@pickbusiness.org.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll drop all that in there as well. Thank you so much, Orlando. Such good advice, such rich advice. Thank you so much for sharing your story, being vulnerable, and talking about the failures are how we all learn, right? And so just being honest
Absolutely.
about it. And it gets easier to talk about your failures because you have less of them as you get older and as you get better, but you still should fail all the time.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
Absolutely. And it's part of the process. I mean, it
Yeah.
should be expected. Of course, we have to learn, right? It's not about failing all the time. That wasn't the case, but it's a learning experience and multiple humbling moments that you're going to face with this profession. And it's very rewarding. It's one of the few professions that will give you a chance to experience different industries and look at how things are done from different angles, different perspectives. From a Fortune 500 company to a startup, it is still project management. So it's rewarding. It's a great career. It's a great profession. You get to meet a ton of interesting people. And if you're the smartest person in the room, run, because that's not a good situation. So you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. You should be the best project manager in the room, but not the smartest person in the room. There's a problem if the PM is
I love that
thank you
advice.
very much.
Yeah, Orlando, that's great. Such great advice. I love it. So thank you, Orlando. And thanks to all of you who joined us for Project Zero this week. Be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts, and we will catch you next time with another great project leader story.